Hello, greetings everyone. Our Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra series continues with verse 30. So we're now at the fourth technique, the fourth yukti, or technique of the text. As mentioned in previous videos, it's actually not correct to take each verse as a separate practice. And the reason that people do is because much later in the text we get a verse saying, there are 112 teachings that I have just given, O Bhairavi. And this is interpreted to mean 112 techniques, but 112 teachings could just mean 112 verses comprising whatever number of techniques it ends up being. So anyway, not to harp on that too much, but I think it is pretty important just to acknowledge that some practices have more than one verse devoted to them, so that we don't end up endlessly hair-splitting about, a minute difference between one verse and another, which are really about the same practice. So that said, that's why I'm arguing we're now at technique number 4, not number 7, in verse 30. But verse 30 does present a very distinct practice from the previous verse, and yet relies on the practices of the previous verses for comprehension. Okay, so in the previous verse, verse 29, we learned about how the energy jumps from one chakra to the next like a bolt of lightning, whether this is a spontaneous experience or an actual dhyana, a practice that one does, that one visualizes or imagines. Either way, it's a simple matter of the energy jumping from one chakra to the next and utilizing a 12 chakra system. So in this verse, we're also utilizing the 12 chakra system, which is unique to the Vijñāna-bhairava, but has very strong overlap with many other chakra systems. So it's only slightly unique. So we've posted a diagram in the Tantric Yoga Now group that shows these 12 chakras and their positions, and also the vowel sounds associated with them. And that is the practice we're looking at today. This practice of working with the Sanskrit vowels in the 12 chakras in order to activate them and tune them, if you will, purify them, recalibrate them. All of these words have been used to explain what exactly this sort of practice is accomplishing. And I think it's best if you just do the practice and discover for yourself what it accomplishes, rather than sort of worry too much about the verbs that others have come up with to describe it. So originally I said, since we had no video last week, I said I was going to do 2 videos this week. But in fact, I think you guys really need a week with this practice before we move on to the next verse. And also the next verse, I still need to do a little problem solving with it, because there's an ambiguity which is pretty naughty. So I won't do 2 videos this week after all. Sorry about that. But we will continue plugging away. I just want you guys to have time to do these practices, not just learn about them theoretically. So yes, nice to be with all of you. Thanks for your kind comments. Yeah, I took a week off, had some vacation time. Also had a minor back injury jumping on a trampoline, and it's getting better. But be careful when you jump on trampolines and do backflips, just as a personal note. Okay, so let's look at the verse itself. Verse 30 in the Sanskrit. It's in your chat window. Kramadvādaśakaṃ. Sorry, let me start again. Kramadvādaśakaṃ samyag dvādaśākṣarabheditam sthūlasūkṣmaparasthityā muktvā muktvāntataḥ śivaḥ. That's the Sanskrit. The meaning is pretty clear, fortunately. So the meaning is, there are 12 such centers in sequence, properly associated with 12 vowels. By fixing awareness on each one in successively coarse, subtle, and supreme forms, and then abandoning each, in the end, one knows God. So it literally says, in the end, Shiva. I translate it as one knows God. Probably more accurate to say one becomes Shiva, one becomes Bhairava. So I'll probably adjust that translation. As you see, it's in brackets because it literally just says, in the end, Shiva. And maybe we should just go with that. Okay, so what's the practice here? The practice is going through these 12 chakras 3 times. So you're starting from the base and going up to the chakra above the crown 3 times using the Sanskrit vowels. Why would you use the Sanskrit vowels? Because the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet are considered to be mantras. So the Sanskrit alphabet is called matrika, the matrix, but also the divine mother. So matrika means both. And it's also called Shabda Rashi, the mass of sounds. We addressed that term in an earlier video. So the very phonemes of Sanskrit are considered to be sacred pulsations, vibrations, mantric units, if you will. So, like with any practice, this is either going to work for you or it's not. And if it's not, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. That's why the text specifically says, we give you a whole bunch of practices here, so at least one will work for you, and it's undoubtedly more than one. But it is not the case that you need to persist with a practice that doesn't work for you, doesn't resonate with you. But for some of you, this practice will strongly resonate. So I think it's important just to realize there's no problem or failing if it doesn't work for you, and you give it a week, give it a week before you decide it doesn't work for you. But there are many, many other techniques, and some are more resonant than others for a given constitution, right? So that's the way your body mind is configured determines how or whether these certain practice works for you, okay? Okay, so you need to know again where the chakras are. So if we look to the commentary by Shivopadhyaya, the Sanskrit commentary on this text, this was written in the 17th century. So the problem is it's 800 years after the composition of the original source text, the Vijñāna-bhairava. So is the commentary reliable? Yes and no. It comes from much, much, much later. It comes from well past the classical tradition, after centuries of persecution, Muslim persecution of Shaivite practice in the Valley of Kashmir. So the knowledge base for these practices had massively contracted by the 17th century, but it wasn't eliminated by any means. So our commentator, Shivopadhyaya, does his best, and clearly sometimes he's not sure what's going on in the original text. And this is one of those times because he's not totally sure what the text means by doing the practice in coarse, subtle, and supreme forms. And so we can't totally rely on his enumeration of the chakras either. And as a scholar of classical Tantra, I would argue that the chakras the text has in mind are the ones presented in the diagram found in the group, which is slightly different from what our commentator presents. Our commentator has the first chakra as Janmagra, which means the tip of the penis, and the second chakra as Muladhara, the pelvic floor, or just above the pelvic floor. So I disagree with him there. Why? Because this is a Kaula Trika text, and the Kaula branch of Tantra was careful to be highly inclusive of female practitioners a lot of the time, not all the time, but much more than the other branches of Tantra. So to have the first chakra as the tip of the penis seems to me unlikely in a 9th century Kaula Trika text. Okay, so we don't find that. We don't find that chakra mentioned in texts of that period. What we do find frequently is this is a chakra at the pelvic, at or near the pelvic floor, called Muladhara, as the fundamental, basic, and number one chakra. We find that repeatedly in texts of this period. So that's I like to give you guys a little window onto why I propose the interpretations that I do, even when they sometimes differ from our commentator, in this case, Shiva, because the Sanskrit commentary is not always authoritative given the context and time in which it was written. But it's always good to consult the commentary, which most of the published translations of this text do not do. Most of the authors who've translated the text have not consulted the Sanskrit commentary, just to be clear. A good example for this verse is the Bihar School of Yoga version, where they just go off on whatever their own thing there, with clearly having not read the commentary and not even understanding that there are 12 chakras here. Anyway, sorry to get so academic, but I want to just give some clarity there. So responding to that last comment from Aaron just now in the chat window, this is exactly my argument, that I don't think the female body is left out by the original author. This is a commentary from 800 years later, proposing, oh, these are the 12 chakras the original author has in mind, and I am disagreeing with that interpretation. So, commentators can be wrong for very specific reasons, usually, that it helps to be highly, highly educated in the tradition to know when they might be wrong. And again, that the main reason being the Kaula context in which this text was composed. Okay, so let's go through the practice. Let's get to actual practice. That was all theory, historical background, Actual practice. So as before, you're going to visualize the 12 chakras, one at a time, as either compressed discs, spinning discs of golden light or golden white light. This is a default. You can experiment and do it different ways, but I just invite you to start with the default setting, as it were. Either spinning discs of golden light or pulsing spheres of golden light, or white gold or gold white. Spheres being, about yay big. Gently pulsing spheres of light or spinning discs. Doesn't matter which, just go with what works. And if the practice changes over time organically, let it do that, because that's said to be Kundalini Shakti guiding the process. As long as it's not your mind saying, maybe I should try this. I should just try doing it with red color. Why not? Let's do the rainbow thing. No, just let it be organic. Let the practice and the way the chakras appear for you alter organically or not at all. Okay, so you're going to put your attention on each of these 12 chakras one at a time, and you're going to sound the Sanskrit vowel associated with that chakra, and you're going to absorb your attention in that chakra as much as you possibly can, while feeling, if possible, feeling that the vowel is actually resonating there, not in your throat, not anywhere else, but rather in the chakra itself. You may or may not be able to feel that. Okay, so it does help if you've done the prior practices. It does help if you're doing this after centering, after doing some breathing, after some yogic practice. If you just sit down and try to do this verse 30 practice out of the blue, it's not going to be as effective as if you do it after some other practices, after some centering or some physical yoga. So what we're doing now is a rehearsal, because again, I don't recommend that you just do it straight out of the gate. But let's do our rehearsal. So again, you're going to go through 3 times. First time is easy. It's just sounding the vowel and feeling it at that place. So if you want to close your eyes, adopt a steady, upright, stable posture. Let the body be as still as possible, spine straight. Now feel, if you can, or just imagine, the Muladhara chakra as a small pulsing sphere of light or spinning disk of light at the pelvic floor. So there we mean the perineum or the perineal body. Just a little bit above the part of the perineum that you could touch easily. So if it helps, do a gentle mula bandha to really feel and activate your pelvic floor, and then just focus on that gently, subtly pulsing sphere or disk of energy at the pelvic floor. And the vowel for this Muladhara chakra is A, the first vowel of the Sanskrit alphabet. The simplest sound in any language is A. So if you want, you can tone it at length, such as or you can repeat it. Either way, please try to feel it in the Muladhara chakra itself. And imagine the Muladhara chakra becoming brighter, more radiant, cleared of any of anything that might have gotten in there that impedes its light. All that naturally falls out. Any blockages just are cleared from the chakra as you repeat its vowel. So you can, in your home practice, do that a few times if you like before moving on to the next chakra, or just once. So then we have the Swadhisthana chakra at the level of the mons pubis, the top of the genital area, but back from that inside the body a bit. Swadhisthana chakra, again, not worrying about different colors or anything like that. It's just the same exact thing of an energy center, a sphere of light or a disk of light. Tune into that center. Its vowel sound is ah. So again, you can tone it at length. Ah. Or repeatedly. Ah. 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 Trying to feel that vibration in the chakra, feeling the chakra getting brighter, clearer, more radiant, cleared of any blockages. Then just a little bit above that, halfway between the genitals and the navel, is the khanda, the chakra of the bulb. I won't explain that term now. The khanda, halfway between the genitals and the navel inside the body. It's the same position as the dantian in Taoism. Focus on the energy center there. And its vowel is E. So the vowel sound E. So again, you can tone it, E, or repeat it, E, 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 E. And moving up to the navel center, the energy center behind the navel in the middle of the body. Since all these chakras are aligned with the central channel, it's in the middle of the body, not the front of the body. and not the spine either, but in between, in the central channel, which runs from the pelvic floor to the crown of the head. So there in the middle of the body, behind the navel, the Manipura chakra, manifested as a simple pulsing energy center. Its vowel sound is E, exactly the same as the last vowel, but longer. So repeating it like E, 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 or E. Now raising awareness to the heart center, the Anahata chakra. Now the mantra of the Anahata chakra in many systems is Om. But here, since we're going through the vowels, the mantra, the phoneme associated with the Anahata chakra is U. So you just repeat U, 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 or tone it Ooh. And imagine that energy center at the level of the heart, right behind the sternum, right behind the base of the sternum. Imagine that energy center getting brighter, clearer, cleared of all obstacles or blockages as you intone Ooh. And then bringing your attention to the level of the throat chakra, the kanta, or Vishuddha chakra. In the throat, a pulsing sphere of light, and its bija mantra is, for this practice, is Ooh. Same as the previous sound, but longer. Ooh. 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 And now bring your attention to the palate chakra, the chakra immediately above the hard palate, above the roof of the mouth. The sphere of light is a little bit smaller here, but radiant, pulsing, beautiful light just above the roof of your mouth, inside your head, in your nasal cavity. And the mantra here is A. A. So again, you can repeat it or tone it. So it's the same sound as in the word neighbor. A. And then raise your attention to the level of the third eye. So behind the point between the eyebrows. For this practice, it's in the middle of the head, straight back from the point between the eyebrows. I believe the same location as the pineal gland in the middle. Feel that chakra, the Ajna chakra. And the vowel sound here is I. very similar to the vowel in English, sky. I, 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 And just above that, behind the middle of the forehead, is the lalata chakra. Just above that one. The vowel sound here is O. O, 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 O. And now at the crown of the head, this chakra overlaps the crown of the head. So it's like if you're imagining a sphere, half of it is above the crown and half of it is inside your head. Or if it's a disc of spinning light, it's exactly at the top of your head, flush with the top of your head. And the vowel sound here is ow. 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 And now a few inches above that, in the air above your physical head, but still inside your energy body, is the chakra called Shakti. Tune into that chakra just above your head. You can even feel it sometimes. It's inside your energy body, outside your physical body. And the mantra here is Om. It's a pure nasal sound, not found in English, but found in French and Portuguese and other languages. Om. 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 Toned, it sounds like this. Remember to focus your intention intently on the chakra that corresponds to the sound. So Shakti chakra, Om sound. Anuswara sound is the name of it. And then a few inches above that, at the upper limit of your energy body, hard for most people to feel tangibly, but at the upper limit of your energy body, feel or imagine the final chakra called Vyapani, the all-pervasive. Imagine it as a pulsing sphere of light, even though at that level of being you are in truth all-pervasive. And the mantra here is Ah. 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 There's no way to tone this mantra really, because the essence of this vowel is this breathiness called visarga. Ah. Ah. But if you were to tone it, it would be something like ah. Now, feel or imagine all 12 chakras brighter, more radiant, cleared of any blockages, shining brilliantly, sending light rays in all directions. All 12 chakras from the base to above the crown. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, come back to the video screen, which I realize might be hard, and this was just the rehearsal. Okay, so to run through the 12 vowels all in a row, they are a, I, U, A, I, O, Au, Aha, or just ah. Those are the 12 vowels. So then, having done that, you go through and do it again, but this time not out loud, this time trying to feel the resonance of the 12 vowels as a subtle pulsation called spanda, a subtle pulsation. So you're not doing it out loud at all, you're just trying to feel the quality of that vowel in each chakra. So it already here becomes an advanced practice. First of all, you need to have the vowels memorized. You can't be casting about with your mind, then you get out of the groove of it, as it were. So you need to have these sounds intimately memorized, or it's not going to work. You can't be opening your eyes and looking at a crib sheet. That will interrupt the practice. You need to stay eyes closed and know what you're doing. So that's important. So the second iteration is the spanda iteration, just feeling the vowel sounds as subtle vibrations, not doing them out loud. Okay. The third iteration then, remember, to do the whole practice given in verse 30, you have to go through 3 times, meaning going through all the chakras 3 times, not just repeating each vowel 3 times, but starting at the base again 2 more times after the first time. The second time again being the spanda, the subtle vibration, or feeling the vibrational quality of the vowel without enunciating it. And so what's the third time? The third time is when the practice becomes synesthetic. So again, this is getting fairly advanced. This is when the vibration sort of transmutes into light. So that the commentator Shiva calls that yukti rupata. So when the vibration takes on the form of light or energy, jyoti. So there you're experiencing the vowel not even as a kind of subtle sonic vibration, but at a level where sound and light are one and the same. That's what synesthetic means. So again, this, as we've discussed in other videos, the text plays with the boundary and blurs the boundary between practice and spontaneous experience. So I think really for this third level to really click, there has to be a degree of spontaneity for it. You can't make it happen, right? It's something that you can start to experience, but you can at least do the first 2 iterations, the out loud one called the sthūla or coarse iteration, and then the subtle spanda pulsation, that's called the sūkṣma or subtle iteration. And then the third iteration is the para or supreme one. And the original author of the verse doesn't tell us what that is, so we only have the commentary to go on, and the commentary says jyoti rupata. The vibration becomes light, becomes synesthetic. Okay. Time for questions. Well, we're out of time really, but we'll take a couple of quick questions. Are there any mudras associated with the practices? I noticed that in the image, the hands look like they're in jnana mudra. If you do, we'll come to mudra later. Some people benefit a lot from doing a mudra, whether it's jnana mudra, tattva mudra, or whatever. Doing a mudra at the level of each chakra can help some people focus. It's totally not necessary. It's not given in the text. But play whatever mudra you're using, placing the fingertips at the level of the chakra that you are vibrating or invoking or activating that can be powerful for some people. So just experiment with that. Stuart asks, is there a guideline in terms of time to spend on each chakra, or is it more of an intuitive practice? It's intuitive, meaning you could do as little as one utterance of the vowel and then move on. So that would be like 2 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever. Or you can spend more time on each chakra and then move on. So this is totally intuitive. Catherine Perkins asks, why are there not chakras below the root as there are above the head? Well, there are. It's just that those are subsidiary chakras in the legs, and they are considered to be much less powerful. But we do have subsidiary chakras, in the soles of the feet, and the ankles, and the mid calf, and the knee, and the mid thigh, and in the hip crease. But they're not used in this practice. And the central channel doesn't extend below the pelvic floor. I mean, of course, you can draw up earth energy into the central channel, and it feels like it extends below the pelvic floor, but as a default, just as a normal person walking around, your central channel doesn't extend beyond the pelvic floor. Okay. Brian asks, aside from the top chakra, which can't be easily intoned, is there any advantage to one style or the other of sounding the vowels? No, I mean, not that I know of. It's really a matter of what works, right? So the principle of upaya, what works for you, do that. Okay, great. Oh, one more. How does one go about taking their standardized Hatha Yoga practice and introduce subtler practices such as these? Simple. The sequence in a daily practice is always coarse to subtle. So if you're doing asanas, that comes first, then pranayama, then now when you mention pratyahara, you're already getting into a meditation practice essentially. And the point is coarse to subtle. So whatever's subtler, you do it after. Progress to the more subtle in any daily practice. So it depends kind of a little bit on what you find more subtle when we get to practices of, dharana and dhyana. And indeed, what we find in the tantric texts is sometimes pratyahara is listed as more subtle than dharana and dhyana. And the order of those in the tantric text is often mixed up because it's a matter of what are you experiencing as more subtle. The principle is always coarse to subtle, but you want to honor what your experience is and end with whatever's most subtle that you're doing in that daily practice, right? So these Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra practices in general would go after any Hatha Yoga practices, which are all, by definition, less subtle. Okay, great. Nice to be with you all. As you can see, each verse pretty much demands a whole video. So our rate of progress is slowed down a little bit vis-a-vis the verses, but that's okay. That allows us to go deep. So next week we have verse 31, which is a very interesting verse that none of the published translations seem to quite understand. That's debatable. We'll find out. Anyway, be here next week. Almost the same time, definitely the same channel. And lastly, this practice that we did today, as well as some other VBT practices, are available on my Gaia channel, gaia.com/Harish. And you can sign up for Gaia for like $1 or $10 or whatever. You can watch all my meditations. Then you can cancel your membership if you want. I'm not trying to sell you on Gaia per se. Although there are other good teachers on there, let me acknowledge that. Paul Muller is on Gaia. Sally Kempton is on Gaia. These are two people I personally honor very highly and who were mentors to me in the past. So definitely recommend you check out Gaia, just the yoga content, not necessarily any of the other content. Check it out for a month, because this meditation is done in maybe an easier to follow format. I don't know, that's for you to decide, as well as some other VBT meditations. And most importantly, they're professionally filmed, unlike these Facebook Live videos, so the quality is much, much higher. So if you're interested, please do check out gaia.com/Hareesh, Hareesh. And that would be great, because then they pay me a little something every time you sign up. So again, you could just do it for $10. Thank you for your very sweet comments. Very nice to be with you all. Om.